Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Let me tell y'all something. I personally feel that a lot of people don't know about this Gary Antuanne Russell. Now, there is something brewing. Now, if it's going to boil over, I don't know. But it's definitely brewing as far as Gary Antuanne Russell and Tank Davis. People keep talking about every other fighter out there from 130 to 140 and even 147 for Tank to face. But nobody's talking about Gary Antuanne Russell. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Two of the hardest hitting boxers today in the sport of boxing, especially in that lightweight division, happen to come from Maryland, Baltimore, and that whole area. And it happens to be Gervonta Tank Davis and Gary Antuanne Russell. And when you look at their records, the fact that you got, 44 total wins, 0 losses, and 42 knockouts, that's crazy. Now, for those of you who are saying, man, those records seem pretty impressive, right? Especially when you look at the knockouts, right? It's absolutely amazing. But when you think about them as amateurs, then you start to understand how these guys are performing as professionals. I don't know any fighter who was a scrub as an amateur and went on to become exemplary as a professional. Now, to put some things in perspective, Gervonta Davis, I think, what is he, like 28, 29 now? He is 215 wins and 15 losses as an amateur. That's pretty damn impressive. Okay, and then Gary Antuanne Russell, I think he's 26, 27, but he was 33 wins and 8 losses, and he was an Olympian. And we know he comes from the Russell family. His dad had a bunch of sons. All those guys could fight, and they had a big name out there in the whole Maryland area, DC area. Same thing with Gervonta Davis. So those guys all came up together. They all know each other. But that's what would make the fight between them, especially out there in that DC area, Maryland area, even Virginia, right? Even more interesting and exciting and make for a huge pay-per-view event. The thing is, Gary Antuanne Russell, and I'm going to be honest, he may have to raise his profile a little bit more, but everyone knows that there's something special about Gary. Everyone in the boxing community. But that being said, man, let me make sure y'all understand this. I don't know why the Russell brothers aren't fighting that much, but this just lets you know there's things that go on behind the scenes where we don't always get the answers. We don't always get the information. But I'm gonna tell y'all that there's something that happened with either Gary with his brothers. Something happened, and for some reason it seems to have stagnated his career. But when you look at a guy like Gervonta Davis, he just keeps moving along, even with the trials, the tribulations that he's faced, right? Davis is still the man of boxing. It's because of the machine he has behind him. And that is what you need in the sport of boxing. Gary Antuanne Russell doesn't quite have that machine. And you look at Gervonta Davis, man, when he comes out here, he's winning titles, but then at the same time, he doesn't really care to go out here and try to become undisputed or nothing. He cares about his money. And people are wondering, how the hell can Gervonta Davis get in the ring and make so much money and sell out arenas and set historical records for live gates, right? Well, it has a little bit to do with this man coming in here and just knocking people out, okay, in an exciting fashion. Gervonta Davis his knockouts aren't flukes. It's the way he closes the show. It's the way he takes risks. And the fact is, Gervonta Davis looks vulnerable in the ring. But that's all part of his plan, his strategy. Gary Antuanne Russell is that guy who gets in there and he's letting his hands go. He's not someone in there who's looking to take any kind of damage. But he's in there putting in work. So next year, I'm not sure that fight will happen. But I think it would be damn interesting if Gary Antuanne Russell can get busy and get some wins against some big name opponents, especially in that 135-pound division. Now, I'm going to tell you this right here. When Davis knocked out Santa Cruz. That for me sold me on Davis. Before that fight, I knew Davis could fight. I knew he had power. But I guess because I've been watching Leo Santa Cruz fight for so long, that I just felt that he was going to outbox, outwork, and just cruise to a victory over Tank Davis. But let me tell you, when I was watching that fight, he was getting some shots off. He was. But you could just see when Tank was letting the shots go that there was just something a little bit. There was just something special about Tank in every round of his performance and his confidence in his ability and confidence in his power. And when he happened to land that uppercut to close the show, that was it for me. I said, damn. And people try to take credit away from Tank, saying, oh, well, Leo Santa Cruz was too small. I'm like, man, when you look at both of them, he didn't look too small to me. He's much taller. Yeah, he's thin, but that's by choice because they choose to cut down to these weights to where these divisions where they probably shouldn't be anyway, so they can be a little bit of weight bullies. But I didn't. I gave him all the credit in the world. Now you fast forward to where he is now, and what he got in the ring and he did with Ryan Garcia. I'm gonna tell you something. That Ryan Garcia fight with Tank, that fight was competitive. But the problem is Ryan was just too left hook crazy. And that was his mistake. But when Ryan let the right hand go, he was catching Tank. He was giving Tank the business at spots in some of those rounds. But again, it goes back to what I said. Just like when Tank really got my buy-in, when he fought Santa Cruz, and how he just has belief in his skills, his abilities, and his power. And you know why he has that? Same reason Ryan has it. And Ryan was just letting those left hooks fly. Is because time after time, ever since he's been a little kid, he knows if he hits somebody with that left hand, things change. The fights change. Bad things happen to people when Tank hits them. And that's a fact. So, fast forwarding to where we are now, I tell you what, man, Gary Antuanne Russell, I think he deserves an opportunity, man. You take a look at him, man, and being in the Olympics and Rio, getting a couple wins, man, losing to an Uzbekistanian, but it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, that guy who he lost to is 11-1 as a pro. So he didn't lose to a scrub, right? He lost to someone who can fight. But when you look at everything else that when we're talking about Gary Antuanne Russell, I talked about this before. I'm gonna talk about it again real quickly, man. Gary Antuanne Russell won 3 or 4 fights against Jerome Boots Ennis. Now we all know Jerome Boots Ennis is 30, 31 wins, 27, 28 knockouts, something like that. For those of you who didn't know that. So that's why there's so much hype around Gary Antuanne Russell, all right? Because he beat the man who people are saying is the best in the sport of boxing right now, pound for pound, but who hasn't got the opportunity. Now, we all know Crawford, Tank, Canelo. Those are the talks, right? Even Tyson Fury. Those are the talks. But when you look at, and I know some people don't include heavyweights. I'm going to include them in there, right? But when you look at someone who just really hasn't had the opportunity, that many people are saying he's it. It's Jerome Boots Ennis. Some people have already gone on and said, look, they don't have him on the pound for pound rankings, but we know he right now is pound for pound the best boxer. He just hasn't got the opportunity. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I can understand why they would say that because of what he's displayed when he gets in the ring against every opponent. And then when he got into with Chikadzian, I mean, he took a little blow. No doubt about that. As far as the momentum he had, that hurt him, getting in the ring with a guy and not really being able to cut the ring off. But I'll tell you from experience, but there's a lot of guys, even the professional fighters, and we've seen it after that. When you get a guy in there who wants to run and doesn't want to engage, it's hard. It's hard to catch up with him, even when you're cutting the ring off. If they have a motor on them, it's just doesn't matter what you do. They can run around that ring all 12 rounds, 10, 12 rounds, and you're just not going to catch them. But I tell you what, Jerome Boots Ennis has come back, and he's shown, I think, a higher commitment to just being a better boxer, cutting the ring off, and making sure that fights don't go to the decision. Take it out of the judge's hands. And I like that mentality in Boots Ennis. Gary Antuanne Russell Jr., he has that mentality, and we all know Tank Davis. Tank Davis is all about patience and just winning every round and then Tank knows something good is going to come. He had to learn that quality. Before, when Tank came in the ring, he tried to blast everybody out. But now you can see that he's picking his shots, setting traps, he's thinking in there, he's being smart. And he knows at some point in time, he's going to get an opportunity. And when Tank gets those opportunities, he closes the show. Gary Antuanne Russell Jr. is another one. When he gets an opportunity, he closes the show. But the thing that's the most interesting about Tank and Gary Antuanne Russell Jr. is how they set traps. And to see these two get in there, it is definitely going to be a chess match. I honestly believe that. It's going to be a chess match. Some people don't give Gary Antuanne Russell a lot of credit because, again, not many people, outside of the diehard boxing fans really know much about him. They know more about his brother, okay? But I'm going to tell you, he turned pro in 2017. This man scored 10 knockouts. Straight. First 10 fights, all 10 knockouts. Now, remember, when Edgar Berlanga came out and he was knocking people out, he was getting that kind of buzz too. But then, like I said, for some reason, things slowed down with Gary Antuanne Russell. And it makes me wonder what the hell happened. I know his dad passed. And again, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I know his brother, it seems like his brother has left a sour taste in the key decision makers in secret society's mouths. You know what I mean? And as a result, all the Russell brothers seem to be suffering from that. But I'll tell you this. As far as Tank and Russell meeting in the future, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do believe that it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I think it could be sooner than later. But the problem is Gary Antuanne Russell. He's got to get active. He's got to get out here and he's got to get back to fighting, man. Matter of fact, while I'm talking to you, let me pull something up because see now I'm interested to know. Because I was looking at, because I know his brother, man. I don't know what the hell's wrong with his damn brother, boy. That man just like he don't want to fight, man. But I'm gonna pull something up, man. Because I'm curious now. Let me see. Here it is right here. I'm curious about something. All right. So, but this just lets you know something. Let me see if I can pull this up right. So check this out right now, okay? This is Gary Antuanne Russell right here. Damn, I'm bugging right now. Check out this man's record. 17 wins, 17 KOs, no losses, 100% KO ratio. He stands 5'10", 69-inch reach, super lightweight. I don't think that height is correct. I just don't think so. I don't think he's no damn 5'10". Okay? But when you come here, see, a lot of people didn't even know that that he just fought. This guy, Kent Cruz. No one even knew that he just fought this guy. Knocked him out in the first round. Talk about a joke. He's got to get active, man. Because that was just something just to do. I'm going to be honest. I'm out here reading all these articles, man. I didn't know he just fought. That just lets you know that it's gone underneath the radar, man. That's crazy. That's why I wanted to pull that up. But the bottom line is he's got to get back out there. He's got to get back out there. He's got to get back to fighting. And if he wants to fight a guy like Tank Davis, coming out here and getting a win against a guy named Kent Cruz, even Rancis Bartholomew, he's pretty good, but he fights a little bit like Demetrius Andre. What I mean is kind of like a drunken master kind of style. Bartholomew be all over the place. I don't know if you guys remember that Panamanian fighter, Celestino Caballero. He got busted for all those drugs. He was the one who had that kind of weird fighting style, man. Victor Poso was a good win for him. Santiago was a good win. But the bottom line is none of these names really jump out at you like a Ryan Garcia. Or any of those big names, man, from 130 to 140. But Gary Antuanne Russell is on his way. And I think him and Tank could get a fight going on. But again, he needs these bigger names on his record. He's got to get active. He can't be fighting once a year. you got to be fighting 3 times a year, especially if you're going to be fighting guys like Kent Cruz. Man, you know what? Fight every 3 months. Fight every month. If you're going to come and knock somebody out in a round, be back in a round, get back in the ring in the next month. And I know it's not that easy for these fighters all the time, but you got to stay active, especially if the people are going to try to build up a fight between you and someone like Tank Davis, or someone like Ryan Garcia, or someone like Devin Haney, someone like Shakur Stevenson, someone like a Regis Prograis. Anyone, big name fighter, you got to do a little bit more. And don't get me wrong, when we see these records with these guys with these KOs, just means that they're being built into a star without facing real competition. Most of the time. There are some times you'll get that 1 or 2 off where it's pretty stiff competition, but at the end of the day, when you start really looking at those records, when you're seeing those knockouts like that, they're not in there clipping a bunch of champions. They're not Floyd Mayweather in his prime. They're not De La Hoya in his prime. Okay? That was those were different types of beasts. You understand? You knew from the first time you seen those guys get in the ring, from the very first fight, you saw and you said something special here. That's why those guys became champions so quick and dominated their weight divisions and were able to move up multiple weight divisions and still dominate, because there's something special about them. Not just the power, it wasn't just skills, it wasn't just IQ, it wasn't just discipline in and out the ring. It was all of that. And when it comes to these fighters today, some have it, some don't. But what I'm saying is and it's different. It's a different time. It's a different era. But if they get the opportunities and they need to fight for it, they got to get in the ring and stay active. You're seeing that everyone's kind of affected, especially anyone who was working with PBC. The last few years haven't been the best as far as activity. However, going into 2024, PBC can resolve whatever little struggles they're having, those showtimes out of boxing. Then maybe you'll see these guys, especially someone who has like a 17-0 or 17 KOs. People should be talking more about him. And he should be getting fights, but no one really talking about him. That being said, man, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Tank Davis, Gary Antuanne Russell. Let me tell you something. Doesn't matter, at this point in time, it doesn't matter who Gary Antuanne Russell faces in the next 3 to 5 opponents. If he keeps knocking everybody out, that's going to be enough to get some momentum going to put a fight between him and Tank Davis, because the history is there. The background is there. But just now, how do you sell it to boxing fans who don't really know much about Gary Antuanne Russell? Well, I'll tell you what, if you sell it to him as he's fighting somebody who's, 20, 22-0 with 20, 22 knockouts, 100% KO ratio. Pretty easy to sell a fight like that, because people can be like, damn, this guy's knocked everybody out. You understand? So, again, more to come on these two. I think they should get it on, but it's sad when you see a guy with the talent of Gary Antuanne Russell not really having the opportunities and kind of being in a holding pattern, man. It kind of sucks, because really he should be right there in the mix. He should be fighting the Frank Martins. He should be up there fighting the Subriel Matiases. I'm talking from 135 to 140, and hell, at 147 as well. He should be fighting all those guys. You know what I'm saying? All of them. But anyway, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.